This is Camille. You probably have no idea who this man is. But over 50 years ago, Camille made a decision that would change the entire NBA. Camille was a professional footballer in his native country, Cameroon. However, his father was not a sports fan and saw soccer as a waste of time. Just as his football career was taking off, he had to retire to focus on college. 2 decades later, Camille would start a large family with a total of 10 children, one of whom you may be familiar with, Luke. Like his father, Luke loved soccer, and his dream was to play professionally like his father did. Growing up, Luke focused on him. One day, while on his way to soccer practice, Luke noticed that a basketball court that was usually empty was being used by other kids in town. Over the next few days, every time he walked by the court, these kids were shooting baskets, and slowly, Luke's curiosity about basketball got the better of football. So later that week, Luke gave up football to focus on basketball. He quickly advanced to basketball and caught the attention of college recruiters in the United States after being selected to be part of Cameroon's youth national basketball team, eventually earning a scholarship to play basketball at the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA. His parents were reluctant to send his son to the United States, but remembering the difficult decision she had to make because of her father, Camille did not want to stop her son from pursuing his dreams in the sport. So, in 2004, Luke moved to the United States and soon after enrolled at UCLA on a basketball scholarship. 4 years later, after an outstanding college career, Luke would become only the 3rd player in his country's history to be selected in the NBA draft. But this story doesn't end there, because during his NBA career, Luke would frequently travel back to Cameroon to visit his family and host his own basketball camp. It was at his camp in 2011 where he discovered possibly the next great Cameroonian basketball player, a tall, skinny kid who had only started playing the sport a few months earlier, had no real skills or dexterity, but unlimited potential. His true passion was volleyball, and he was supposed to move to France later that year to play professionally, but Luke knew this kid was special. So, under Luke's mentorship, the young prospect continued to develop his skills and moved to the United States just a year later in pursuit of his basketball dreams. His game improved almost day by day, his potential seemed limitless and, after just 1 season in college, the 20-year-old Cameroonian recruit would enter the 2014 NBA draft, where he was selected 3rd overall. General. His name, Joel Embiid, the best Cameroonian player in NBA history. A man who gave up on his sporting dreams more than 50 years ago set off a series of events that would ultimately lead 2 others to have the opportunity to live theirs. If Lukemba and Mut had never stopped on that court to take a shot on their way to practice, they might never have fallen in love with the game. Their trip to the NBA would never have happened, maybe they would have focused on football instead. Luke would never have organized basketball camps for him, and we would never have discovered one of the greatest players the world has ever seen. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the butterfly effect, when a small, seemingly insignificant event has cascading effects over time that lead to some consequent event, sometimes long after the initial event. And this is just one of many chains of butterfly effects that would change the course of NBA history forever. Inside video. Before becoming a dynasty, the Golden State Warriors were a mediocre team in the NBA for decades. They were having trouble making the playoffs, and their most notable player, Stephen Curry, had clashes with the coach. However, in the 2010s, the team began to improve by assembling a talented group that included Monty Ellis, David Lee, and Stephen Curry. Despite his potential, Curry's ankle injuries hampered his progress. In 2012, a specific injury would change the course of Curry's career and have a major impact on the NBA. After managing his ankle issues in his first 2 seasons in the league, Steph seemed to out of nowhere sprain his ankle against the Spurs, just 6 games into his 3rd season in the league. An injury that got out of control and got worse again and again, too. Unlike previous sprains, this one persisted, leading to him missing large portions of the season and eventually season-ending surgery just 2 months after his initial injury. The Golden State Warriors were in a decline, and urgently needed a change to take advantage of the window of opportunity with their promising group. Their target was Andrew Bogut of the Milwaukee Bucks, but to get him, they had to include one of their starting point guards in the deal. It seemed logical to get rid of Stephen Curry, who had chronic ankle problems, and keep Monty Ellis, a near-all-star scoring machine. In March 2012, they agreed to a 5-player trade with the Bucks, which surprised the NBA as they had seemingly parted ways with their best player and kept an unproven talent. However, years later, it was discovered that the original deal was not for Monty Ellis, but for Stephen Curry. This trade mix-up completely changed the fate of the NBA for the next decade and created one of the greatest dynasties in basketball history. Years after this deal was announced around the NBA, it was discovered that the original deal was not Monty Ellis for Andrew Bogut, but Stephen Curry for Andrew Bogut. The Warriors were willing to build around the trio of Ellis, Lee, and Bogut, but after completing a physical with the Milwaukee Bucks team doctors, the status of Curry's ankle injuries was unclear at best. So, the Bucks rejected the deal and proposed a new one with Monty in his place, and inexplicably, the Warriors accepted it. The same ankle injuries that had given Curry and the organization doubts about his future with the team and even the league became the catalyst for one of the most crucial trade decisions in league history. Had Steph avoided those ankle injuries that led to the deal, the Bucks would have taken him in a package deal for Bogut, and he would have ended up in Milwaukee. The last 12 years of Warriors basketball that have redefined the league would never have happened. Instead, Steph would have been in Milwaukee, where, just 15 months after his arrival, he would have been paired with another player who could have started a new dynasty.
With the 15th pick in the 2013 NBA Draft, the Milwaukee Bucks select Giannis Antetokounmpo from Athens, Greece.
In the 2013 NBA Draft, the Milwaukee Bucks selected an 18-year-old named Giannis Antetokounmpo. It could have happened. We could have seen an NBA with a Bucks team with 2 of the greatest players of all time, and the Warriors dynasty would have potentially been replaced by a Bucks dynasty. An entire decade of defining basketball could have been erased and replaced by an unstoppable team in Milwaukee. After holding the NBA in check for the majority of a decade, the Bulls finished their last season together on top. But with their 6th championship ring, came the end of the best basketball team. At the beginning of the 1999 closing season, the Bulls championship team was completely dismantled. Rodman was released, Pippen was traded to Houston, and Phil Jackson retired. The team was a shadow of what it once was. Michael Jordan felt that his time in the league had come to an end, and so he announced his retirement. However, he wasn't ready to give up the game completely. Over the years, Michael has been emphatic that if the Bulls had brought this team back for another shot at a title, he would not have retired before the 1999 season. The only non-negotiable condition for Michael was that he wouldn't play for anyone but Phil Jackson. This decision essentially forced Michael to retire. After Michael Jordan's second retirement, Phil Jackson became the coach of the Lakers, a team that was on the verge of becoming an NBA powerhouse. Even though Michael had announced his retirement, he was not ready to leave the game. Over the next 2 years, he was seen visiting Bulls practices, dominating players in one-on-one matchups, and seriously considering the possibility of playing in Spain for half a season. He also had a connection with the Lakers, attending their practices and games, even sitting front row, something he rarely did with other teams. He spent time with players, spoke with Phil Jackson and advised Kobe Bryant as the latter became a superstar. Although Michael insisted on his retirement in 1999, his involvement with the Lakers was subtle, but he had a great impact on the team. However, due to a serious injury to his right index finger in 1998, Michael could no longer play basketball when Jackson joined the Lakers as coach. This injury changed the course of his return to play and affected his possible incorporation. Prayer to the Los Angeles team. This little accident changed the course of Michael Jordan and the Lakers' history in the NBA. Due to a finger injury in the summer of 1998, Jordan was unable to play in the 1999 season. By the time he was ready to return, the Lakers were already champions and he had relationships with the team. This eliminated the possibility of Jordan joining the Lakers. Had he not been injured, he could have played for the Lakers 3 seasons earlier and formed a championship team with Shaq and Kobe. This injury significantly altered the fate of the NBA and exemplifies the butterfly effect, where a small event triggers much larger consequences.